Have you noticed how everyone seems to be heading back to space? The Americans want to go back to the moon and like to be dreaming about conquering Mars. The Chinese want to build a lunar base, and India just landed a probe on its south pole. And Russia, they are planning their own space station. Why so much enthusiasm? You see, it's not just about science or exploration, it's about power, influence, and control. Welcome to the new space race. But this time, it's not just about a race to the moon, it's a race for who sets rules in space. And the consequences, they are coming back down to Earth. So why is space suddenly such a hot topic again? Well, it's because space is no longer just about astronauts in zero gravity or flat planting missions. It's about military dominance, internet infrastructure, natural resources, and global prestige. Today, satellites power your phone's GPS, your bank transactions, your internet. They guide missiles and monitor battlefields or rivals. And tomorrow, space could be where we extract rare minerals or generate clean energy from the moon. That's why countries, even billionaires, are pouring money into space programs. They don't just want to explore, they want to geopolitically control. Because in the 21st century, whoever dominates the sky could dominate Earth. Let's start with current leaders. The United States. NASA's Artemis program aims to return astronauts to the moon by 2026, build a permanent lunar base, and eventually head to Mars. But this isn't just a NASA theory. The US government is partnering with private companies like SpaceX, which is building the lunar lander and launching the world's biggest satellite network, Starlink. Why does that matter? Because Starlink isn't just for streaming YouTube. It's also being used in war zones, like Ukraine, for example, for military communication. That's how fast the lines between civilian, commercial, and military use of space are blurring. The US has also created a new military branch, the Space Force, and is actively developing space-based defense systems. In short, America isn't just exploring space, it's turning it into a strategic frontier. But right behind the US is China, the rising challenger. Over the past decade, China has gone from latecomer to leader. They have landed rovers on the moon and Mars, built their own space station, and now plan to put taikonauts, that's their name for astronauts, on the moon by 2030. And they're not doing it alone. China and Russia are teaming up to build a joint international lunar research station, basically their version of the Artemis program, but outside the Western orbit. Why? Because Beijing sees space not just as a source of science, but as a tool for global influence. They are building their own global satellite network, Wang, to rival Starlink. They've also tested anti-satellite weapons and are integrating space into their military doctrine. For China, dominating low Earth orbit and then the moon is about autonomy, security, and status. And how's Russia doing? It was once the world's top space power, but today it's struggling to maintain its place. After the Soviet glory days of Sputnik and Yuri Gagarin, Russia's current space program has been hit hard by sanctions, budget cuts, and failed missions, like the crash of Luna 25 in summer 2023. Still, Moscow is not giving up. It's planning a new space station to replace the ISS and partnering with China for moon exploration. And militarily, Russia remains aggressive. They've tested anti-satellite missiles, jammed communications in Ukraine, and even declared space a combat domain. Geopolitically, Russia sees space as a symbol of sovereignty and a tool to counter the US dominance. Meanwhile, other players are making big moves. India made history in 2023 by landing near the moon's south pole, something no one else had ever done before. They plan to launch their first crewed mission soon and aim for a space station and even a moon landing by 2040. India has also signed onto the Artemis Accords, aligning with the US on lunar rules and exploration. But make no mistake, India is doing this on its own way. With low-cost, high-impact missions, they are proving that space isn't just for the superpowers. Japan is another rising force, contributing tech to the Artemis, developing lunar rovers and planning to send one of its astronauts to the moon. It's also one of the first countries to legalize space mining, and its private companies are pushing to envelope in asteroids and moon landings. These two countries show that space is no longer bipolar. The geopolitical map of the sky is getting crowded and competitive. And let's not forget about the old continent. Through the European Space Agency, Europe is building the service model for the Artemis spacecraft and developing its own secure satellite network, IRIS², to reduce dependence on the US and Chinese systems. But Europe is also trying to set the rules. By signing on the Artemis Accords and promoting international law in space, the EU wants to ensure that access to space stays fair, open, and possibly peaceful. Yet behind that cooperative phase, Europe is also boosting its military space capabilities. France even has a space command, because they know that in today's world, if you don't secure your orbit, someone else will. And now the twist: governments aren't the only players anymore. US companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and OneWeb are launching thousands of satellites, building space stations, and planning for Mars. Starlink already has over 5,000 satellites in orbit. That's more than all the other countries combined. And more are coming. What does this mean? That national power now depends on private infrastructure and that companies can shape geopolitics. Just look at how Elon Musk's decision about Starlink affected the war in Ukraine. We are entering a world where billionaires can influence diplomacy from orbit. So what's next? In the next 2 to 4 years, expect major tension points. The US and China might race to land astronauts near Moon's South Pole. The competition over satellite networks will heat up, with risks of interference and even collisions. Anti-satellite weapons tests and militarization of space will likely increase. And if diplomacy doesn't catch up, we could see disputes over lunar resources, orbital slots, and space traffic control. The race for the skies is thus on, and what happens above us will shape the future below. Until next time, stay curious, vigilant, and sharp.